What's up guys, today I wanted to show you a quick combo guide on Draco Tail K9 because like many people ask in the comments on the deck profile. I'll first start off with like some basic Draco Tail combos and then later on show you the synergy combos between Draco Tail and K9. And yeah, let's like get into it. I'll start with Draco Tail Lucius first. You just need Lucius and any Draco Tail, pretty simple I guess. As I said in the deck profile, none of those cards are like 1/1 card starters. You always need a monster in hand as fusion material. You will see why. And yeah, just start with normal summon Lucius effect, and then you search 5 mana, and then you use 5 mana, discard to fusion summon, and you fuse Lucius and one monster from hand. For Athelion, by the way, the combos get infinite better if you have a second Draco Tail in your hand. Then you can use Athelion balancing the 5 mana and Lucius to set Rahu, and then you have the 5 mana back into your hand. And then you activate Rahu, fusion summon with the 5 mana because you haven't used her fusion effect, and the Urgula from your deck. Oops, let me get this into the picture a bit more. To summon then the Gulamel, and then you have chaining 1 Urgula, chaining 2 5 mana. And you can set both of your trap cards when I would found them. There they are. And then the last thing is just you use Urgula to bounce your 5 mana to your hand, so you have another interruption on your opponent's turn. And with that, you pass if your only play is Lucius with a monster in hand. This is more than it looks like, to be honest. This is a pop. When you activate any Draco Tail effect, you can just chain it to pop. You got a compulse for attack position monsters, you got the spell negate, and the 5 mana in hand to fusion summon. There are 2 ways you can use this. Either you draw, those cards make you draw a card, so basically 2. So you get Pot of Greed in the opponent's turn, which is pretty nice. And let's say, for some reason, you only had those cards in your hand, and right now this is the only thing you have in play. You will mostly drawn to monsters with this because this deck is 30 monsters, or yeah 30 monsters. So there's a high chance of drawing at least 1 monster, and if you draw 1 monster you can go into a second Athelion on your opponent's turn. And if you're not, because you're insanely unlucky, you can also summon the Secretarian Dragon with those 2, for example in a mirror match, or you can go into Mysterion, which just like banishes monsters from your opponent. Yeah, that's it. Let's just go into the second combo. By the way, you mostly never play into Nibiru. Like the Draco Tail combos where you play into Nibiru are also like kind of Nibiru proof, so yeah. For the second combo, you just need Malulu plus another monster in your hand. And yeah, you simply start off with normal summon Malulu, use its effect to fusion summon, you then go into Athelion, chaining 1 Athelion, bouncing the Malulu again, and chaining 2 is the Malulu to set and potentially negate if your opponent has anything. And you of course set your Rahu, and you get the Malulu to your hand. You can also add back Ash Blossom if you, I don't know, have another monster in your hand. But we just add the Malulu back, and then you use Malulu fusion summon Rahu to fusion summon with the Malulu, and of course your, actually in this case you can just go into Pan for Gulamel, and then you trigger Pan to set another trap. If you can only get access to one of the traps, I would also always recommend to set the Flame, which is just better in my opinion. And yeah, like in this combo you cannot really go into more than this, so basically you miss out on the 5 mana in hand, or the what's it called, and the second trap. Yeah, right, my bad. This is just for debuild. What you can also do, by the way, is, it depends what you like personally think is better. I'll put this back to the bad deck. This as well. You are in this scenario. What you then also can do is you use Rahu to search to still fusion summon with Malulu, but you send where is she or he actually? There, you sent Urgula and Malulu to go into Secretarian Dragon. Oh, never mind, that doesn't work. My bad. Gulamel. And then the Urgula triggers, and instead of setting a trap, you set Ketu, and then you activate Ketu to search your 5 mana. And then you can still use 5 mana, fuse with those two into Secretarian Dragon, and then you use Secretarian Dragon, targeting the Malulu and the Athelion, the Gulamel, bad. Summon the Malulu and put back the Gulamel, and then you use Urgula, re-add the 5 mana, and put back Urgula, and you can also end on this. But in general, I would personally say Malulu is like probably the worst starter you can have. But if you have another Draco Tail name in your hand, like for example, if you open Lucius plus Malulu, and just 2 and 3 hand traps, for example, always normal summon the Malulu, because you normal summon Malulu, and yeah, with the effect you're fusion locked, but if this gets impermed or veilered or something else, you can just use this on your opponent's turn to fuse again, and then you have an imperm and like more interruptions. And if you normal summon Lucas and it gets negated, and this one can even get Ash Blossom, so it's more likely to be negated, you just pass on nothing. Like, and then in that like scenario, if your hand traps are like not that great, or you like for example you drew some awkward cards like Charmies, then you have like a small problem in my opinion. So you still always normal this if you have 2 normal summons. And yeah, then for the third combo, really quick, it's just Ketu. This is by the way the best going second card in this deck. It's an insane board break here. And yeah, then for Ketu, you activate Ketu, again plus any monster in your hand, Puvalos this time. You normal summon, you add Lucius, and then you normal summon Lucius effect, search 5 mana, use 5 mana, and yeah, that's like the progress we always saw in the first combo. You add back the 5 mana, and set Rahu, then you use Rahu, fuse those two into Gulamel, you can set both traps, and re-add the 5 mana with Urgula by putting it back. And yeah, that's like the simple scenario. You don't need this for like the normal Lucius combo. You can, but it's like a little bit overkill, I think, and you then miss one trap. So yeah, that's like for the Ketu combo, basically the same as Lucius. Yeah, but the thing changes if I told you then that you can normal summon this if you have 2, but if you also draw 5 mana, you can normal summon this. But then first of all, you can dodge the imperm or whatever, and even if it get ashed, you don't care. Like, it doesn't do anything to you. And then yeah, for the second for the last combo, I don't know why I'm searching for any monster the whole time. You activate Rahu. It's just Rahu, by the way, and the monster in hand. You then, like, now it depends what you want to do, because you go into Athelion or Gulamel. Both, like, if you go Athelion early, you miss out the like a probably important bounce, and if you go Gulamel, it's mostly. If you go Gulamel, you have the Athelion later, but like it depends. Like, I think Athelion is a little bit more safer into hand traps if you go, but I will just go Gulamel first. Or actually, no, what we just go Athelion first. You use Lucius and your card in hand for Athelion, and then you can chaining 1 Athelion, target Lucius, chaining 2 Lucius. You set your Ketu and re-add Lucius. Then you normal summon Lucius, grab 5 mana, and then you activate Ketu. Search your Urgula, and then you can still go 5 mana, fuse with Urgula and Lucius. Oh, this is in the graveyard. For the Gulamel, and then you got Chain Link 1 to set a trap, and then you can use Urgula, bounce back 1. So this is it. Now let's quickly go into the other way where we start with Gulamel. Then you would go activate Rahu, use Ash Blossom and Urgula for Gulamel effect. Urgula effect, setting the Ketu, and then you activate Ketu for Lucius, and then you normal summon Lucius effect, search 5 mana, and if you have a second monster in your hand, you can of course fuse those and let the Gulamel on board, but we just say there's no monster in your hand, then you can go 5 mana effect, fuse those two into a, let's say, Secretarian, and then you got Lucius effect to set a flame. Then you can use the Urgula to then re-add the 5 mana and put it back. And yeah, then it's like just like this. Or you can, instead of the Urgula, you just go you can, instead of using Urgula to re-add, you can in the beginning set a Malulu, and now here use a Secretarian Dragon, reborn Malulu, and put back the Lucius. This also works, but I would recommend you to go for the first combo with the early Athalion. By the way, I don't know if this is like the best thing you can do. I'm just like learning the deck still. But this is what I do if I only got those cards. And now for the first synergy with the K9 cards, which is just usually Lucius and Draco. Oh, my bad, I forgot to like the last K9 cards. I need to grab them real quick because I put them in a different. Actually, never mind. That doesn't matter for the first combo. You just need those 3 cards, like any monster, Draco and Lucius. And what you then do is you still normal summon Lucius, grab your 5 mana, and then just spread around the combos, use those for a fusion summon into Athalion target 5 mana, chain Lucius. You then just set your Rahu and re-add the 5 mana. And now you're not using Rahu because then you're fusion locked. Use Draco instead, reveal those 2, summon those 2, and then use Draco to search your Izuna. What you can also do is it depends on right now. You go into Ripper. Let's put it down. And now you're nip-proof, so you don't care. This is the 5th summon, by the way, or actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. There are 2 options. The first option is you detach the Joku and grab Lantern, and then use Lantern to make another Xyz, and then you get a spell like the rank up spell. And you still get a Izuna of the Joku, by the way. Or you can first search Lantern, and now Izuna doesn't matter. I would personally first search Izuna because if to be honest, if you get rolled on the Lucius, you cannot search Izuna anyway. But yeah, you just go like this, and I personally would like to detach 5 mana because if you not getting hand trapped, you cannot special summon Izuna from your hand, and then you would need to detach Joku for Lantern, but I would go like this and grab a second Izuna because the Lantern right here isn't live anyways, and then you use Draco Tail Rahu to fusion summon with 1 Izuna and the Urgula for the Gulamel, and then you use Urgula to set 1 trap. And then you can still use Urgula, re-add the 5 mana. So this is basically your hand. So you miss out 1 trap, which is okay. And like as I said, you can, instead of re-adding the 5 mana, you go for Lantern and then go a second Xyz anti-rank up. It depends. For right now, in the deck profile I showed you the Lantern and the quick spell in deck. For right now, I'm testing a list without. But that's why I at least explained, because the other K9 cards are anywhere in between like a random decor. I tried the K9 cards out differently and I forgot to sleeve them. Yeah, exactly, here they are. Okay, never mind, they're not sleeved. So what you can instead do is, instead of detaching the 5 mana, you detach the Jokul, and then you don't even need to send your Orgula, by the way. In this scenario, you wouldn't send Orgula, you would send Pan, because then this is an quote-unquote interrupt. If one of those die, by card effect you can reborn Lucius and Lucius effect to search. And then you would search Lantern, special Lantern, and then Lantern at the Liberation, or you can go Case and still send the Urgula to pop it and then set this one. Oh yeah, there's a special as well, and then you can just overlay those two for a Valon, and then basically this is your board, which of course is better than the other board because you have a pop, the Werewolf, which is a hand rip, Valon as well, and the Izuna in hand. But don't forget you need to play 3 cards or more in your deck, and 3 cards of those are bricks. 2 cards are bricks. And they are good, of course, but I don't know if it's like necessary to play 2 more bricks in this deck, because this plus a 5 mana is also in 99% of the cases enough. And this deck plays tons of hand traps, so there's a chance that you draw into a hand trap. You already started with hand traps. And as I said, if your hand is just engine, you can make so much more, because then you don't need to fuse one random monster. So if you draw a second Draco Tail, for example, instead of the Ash Blossom, you can set the second trap. Maybe go for seals. I will go over this in a second. But yeah, this is like the Draco Tail K9 synergy. I hope you could like understand and follow it. Sorry for the missleaves on the other K9 cards. But I don't want to make it a secret that I'm testing out a different deck like version right now. Yeah, now I will show you like a 2-card combo between Lucius and any Draco Tail in your hand. I'll just choose Malulu because I love Malulu. Even if it's the worst normal summon in theory, I love this card. Like, he's so cute. Oh, he's so cute. Oh, this was upside down, my bad. Yeah, so we just normal summon Lucius, and you still, of course, add the 5 mana. Oh, by the way, yeah, you need... My bad. You still need another monster in your hand. To make it simple. And then you use 5 mana. Fuse your 2 monsters and leave the Lucius where he is. For the Arthelion, of course. Arthelion re-adds your 5 mana. And Malulu triggers to set the Rahu. And then you link the Lucius off for your Spirit with Eyes of Blue. And then, this is engraved, set by the way. Then you link those 2 off for, whoops, a Seals. And then you still use Rahu. And if this gets ashed, you still got Seals plus 5 mana in hand, which is cool. You use Urgula and 5 mana. Into Gulamel. And then you can use Channing 1 Urgula, Channing 2 5 mana. I do not recommend using the Arthelion here, because if you go for Seals, you make over 5 summons, and if you get nipped here, yes, Seals triggers, but this gets banished then, and this is one way to, after you use both traps, you can still use something to trigger Gulamel, and I like to keep it in the graveyard. So you can, of course, do it, but it doesn't give you anything, so you just go leave it in graveyard, fuse those 2 with Rahu into Gulamel, and then those 2 trigger, of course, setting both traps. And as always, Orgula grabs back the 5 mana. So you have this board. By the way, the Arthelion input does nothing anyway, so you can just keep it in graveyard. And the idea behind these seals is, first of all, obviously it's another interruption. You can shibit it, bounce something, and then it triggers to special summon, and what you then can special summon is obviously another interruption. You can either special summon a Pan to get a pop, if you fuse it with 5 mana, because you get 2 draws, and look what here, those are the top 2 cards. And this is a pop, and if it's in graveyard, you can still reborn the Lucius or the Malulu. Or what you can also do is you just special summon a Malulu, because this can still fusion summon. Because then you got the, like, for example, the 5 mana in hand still. And then you can use Malulu to fusion summon into Arthelion, and if you got a second monster in hand, you don't even need to use itself, but I would recommend it because he then is an imperm. It just like depends if you want to summon a Malulu as a fusion summon or the Pan as a fusion material. Just keep in mind that you need one monster in hand if you summon an Arthelion, which in this case is live. So if your hand for some reason is 2 spells and you draw into 2 spells, you then just use Malulu to fuse those 2. So yeah, I just said 2 spells because we opened Lucius. A Draco Tail monster doesn't need to be Malulu, and an Ash Blossom. So yeah, that's like the idea behind it. And yeah, another combo I can like show you real quick. I'll just like show you everything that comes to my mind real quick. It's just 5 mana plus. I'll just use some, not Orgilla, this is too good. Just show you some combos that you may need. And just any monster, like, I don't know, Nibiru. And I didn't pick Orgilla, by the way, because Orgilla can react 5 mana instantly, which we don't want. This is too good. So let's say you opened like this, you can go 5 mana. This is by the way why I count 5 mana as a like semi-starter, because you always need a name in hand. You just fuse those 2 from hand into Arthelion. Arthelion then can rebounce the 1 monster you use and the 5 mana, because you use 2 from hand, obviously, and set Rahu. Then you can use Rahu to dump. So this is like very interesting what you can do. You can, of course, you could leave it like this and go into Gulamel, but then you need another monster in hand, which is like most likely not gonna happen. You didn't normal summon right now, keep that in mind. Use Orgilla and a 5 mana, because you haven't used 5 mana's effect to set. Go into Gulamel, you're already fusion locked. And then you use 5 mana and Orgilla to set 2 cards, 1 trap, and Ketu, because then you can go Orgilla, re-add 5 mana, this is gone. Or you just, by the way, yeah, you can also, my bad, you can just set 2 traps and then re-add Orgilla, my bad. So it looks like this, as always. And oh, by the way, yeah, the Nip is back in your hand because of the Arthelion. So you got another monster in hand. So you could, in theory, like, instead of setting 1 trap, you can set Ketu effect. Just search Malulu, and then you normal summon Malulu. But this is a fusion summon, but then you miss out 1 trap, which is like, I mean, you can still use Malulu right here, but it doesn't give you anything because you already summoned both, and this card is once per turn. So yeah, or you just, of course, you can also go normal Lucius, grab Malulu, so then your endboard looks like this. And with that, you have free fusion material with those 2. A monster in hand doesn't need to be there, by the way. And this is an imperm as well. And in this scenario, we have Pan in the graveyard. The Orgilla is gone. So even if something dies, you can reborn one of those. But I think I would recommend you to set the traps, because the traps are just like, they're traps, they're not monster effects. If your opponent for some reason draws the 1 of talents, you don't play into it. And yeah, this is like I think the last combo I wanted to show you. I hope you could learn something from this, and I hope the explanation was like well enough and not too fast. If you have any questions to the combos or like any tips you figured out yourself, just like text me in the comments. Oh yeah, one thing that I like also noticed, at the point where I linked the Lucius into Spirit and then go into Seals, you of course can, instead of go this, just link those two away for IP, and then you're on Imperial Stone, you got SP. Also works, but I'm not running IP right now, so that's why I showed you this. And sealed is quote unquote a double interruption, even if IP into SP is that as well. It's, I think, personal preference what you want to play. You either play the problem is that you, for the seals package, you need to play seals and spirit, of course. And if you play IP, you just, like, for example, you just cut one of those for IP, and then the thing is, if you don't play spirit, these seals never came up, and if you don't play seals, you will never summon this. So you need to cut everything else, something else. And that's like your decision, probably one of the XCs. And seals alone on the end board does something, while IP does not. So if your normal Lucius resolves and you get your set card, and then Arthelion, for example, gets impermed, and you then, like, for example, you don't have a monster in hand, you cannot fuse with Rahu because you set it Rahu, then go into IP just doesn't give you anything. And if you go into seals, you still got a bounce and the fusion summon if you, I mean, okay, to be fair, you don't got anything in your hand, but if the Arthelion gets impermed, you can set, instead of Rahu, because you cannot fusion summon, you can set a Ketu, and then Ketu add something, and then you go seals and then pass, and then you got a name in hand from Malulu, which you summon from deck, and if you play IP, you go IP, add something, and then you grab 5 mana, but as we learned, we have nothing in our hand, so 5 mana is dead. That's like probably the best reason why I personally more end on seals than on IP, and this is obviously a dragon, so yeah, you can shuffle it back with Secretarian Dragon, which is kind of cool. You can, like, use Secretarian Dragon, bounce this, summon a spellcaster, for example Lucius or Mysterion or Gulamel, which is like kind of cool because then seals is back in your extra deck. And yeah, IP into SP obviously is a good play as well because you can apply some pressure by giving opponent a double interrupt, but you of course need to get rid of one of your monsters, which isn't that bad because then your fusion monsters in graveyard trigger to special summon back. If you got anything of those in the graveyard. I mean, you got Arthelion, so yes. But, oh yeah, another reason, sorry. IP plus board dies to nip, where seals not really. So, yeah. I hope you got it. Again, if you have any questions, just ask me in the comments. I'll try to answer everything as quick as possible. And yeah, I'll try to make more content right now because I have more time. So maybe 2 videos a week. I cannot promise you anything. So yeah, if you have any questions, I'm not gonna say that again. Sorry. Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you on the next one. Bye bye.